Hello and welcome to the Third Sector. I'm your host, Tamara Brinkman. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit, and it's that third sector that we're here to talk about today. Joining me for today's episode, I have Dana Sinclair from the NATCO Community Empowerment Center. Dana, welcome to the Third Sector.
Thank you very much for having me. I always look forward to it.
Well, we are very happy to have you back on the show again. And bringing us up to speed on all things NATCO Community Empowerment Center. So for those who haven't seen past episodes or don't know the history, let's just talk about when the Empowerment Center came to Richmond.
The Empowerment Center came to Wayne County 11 years ago, so count back to that. I never can remember. I wasn't part of it at the time that it actually opened.
We can do some math.
I believe it was 2013, but don't hold me to that. It might be 14. Because NATCO credit unions started to see a need in its membership for help for basic needs, job seeking, things like that, because people were coming for loans for those necessities, to pay their utilities, to buy food, for gas, for their car, those kinds of things. And when it gets to that point, on the loan end, it's more difficult to say a yes when you're already behind on utilities or things like that. So it was, how can we help our members not get there?
Got it.
So they did lots of research. They got a big grant, and they bought the building, and the Empowerment Center was born in about 6 months.
Wow.
So I came on board in 2014 and have been there 11 years. And we really try to stay in tune with what's happening in the community and what the community need is to kind of help what we do, but with that focus on that financial wellness, financial education, kind of like we want to see ourselves as like a hub. You know, if you want to have a conversation about poverty, we want you to think of us. If you want to have a conversation about money management or things like that, we want you to think about us. So that's kind of where we are.
Okay.
But yeah, and then almost 2 years ago, we opened another site in Connersville. So now we have 2 offices. Woo, woo, woo.
Yay.
And are really able to expand the immediate services that we can provide to people because we now have 2 places that they can go.
Yeah. So how do you all stay in step with what the needs of the community are? Do you have any methods? Is it that you is it just what you see walk in your door?
I think one of the most successful ways, because obviously you try all different things and some of it succeeds and some of it does not.
Right.
But I think the most successful way is really trying to be involved in more than just us. Networking with other organizations that have an insight that we don't, such as Centerstone, Meridian, Drug Free Wayne County Partnership, Neighborhood Health Center, attending any and all meetings and doing outreach into the community. So you're networking with other organizations. So they're saying, you know what, perfect example. I had somebody currently works at the senior center, but at the time worked for Meridian, that came up to me at an outreach event and said, you know what, I have people that I work with that are losing their spouse. So they're having to go from 2 incomes to 1, and they don't know how to do it. And they don't want to ask for help.
Right.
Because there's stigma attached to that, which that's a total nother.
Right. We'll park that one for the moment. But yes.
But there's stigma attached to that. But she said, if you do it, then it makes it legitimate. And it is learning. It's not this, I can't. It is, they're going to help me understand more so I can. And from there, I wrote a grant, got a grant through the Women's Fund, and our widowers, and people going from 1 income to, from 2 incomes, to 1, it's kind of just taken off.
Wow.
And so now we're trying to figure out how we can fit it into other areas. So, but it's like that right there was something we had not done specifically.
Right.
Not that we couldn't, but
Right.
it was nothing. And then we're like, okay. And it was somebody honestly, from Meridian that came up and said, hey.
Right.
And, yep.
Right. And so it's nice when you have those connectivity and that level of collaboration and other people knowing what folks do to be able to go to someone like that. Because obviously Meridian folks are seeing people in that situation. So that's a wonderful
And our
thing to hear.
biggest thing is we don't want to recreate something that's already out there, but we want to be connected to everything so that we can send people to the correct place.
Right.
For the correct purpose. I don't want to send somebody to the trustee's office if the trustee's office isn't the place that can help them. So
Right.
I need to know as much about what happens at the trustee's office as I can possibly know,
Right.
so that I know, okay, that's not the place you need to go. Let's try this place over here or that place over here. We may not be able to fix the problem, but hopefully, and this it's not always the case, but hopefully I know where to send you to help you fix the problem.
Right.
And I feel like over time, that is where a lot, because now those places trust us and we trust them. Now, 2020, the year that shall not be named, a lot of things changed for each individual organization. And I think we are just now, 4 years later, getting caught up on what has changed in the different organizations and feel more confident again in connecting people.
Right.
Because it did change. How you did it changed. And a lot of people haven't gone back, you know, in good ways.
Right. Right.
Like we have so many more options to work with clients now than we did in 2019.
Right.
So many more. Texting, we can do Teams meetings, we can do phone interviews, we can do all different kinds of things that 2019 we would have never thought of doing.
Right.
Because it was all just you come in, you had an appointment, you just come in, you had an appointment.
Right.
And so I feel very confident, and I had a lady I talked to yesterday, and her nephew needs some help with budgeting. And we are certified, we are credit union certified financial counselors. Woohoo, big name. But it was training and all that kind of stuff. Big name. But her nephew lives in Anderson. And she's like, if you can't help him, and I'm like, oh no, we can do that. You know, now she wants him to come here. But, but I could have done a phone call. I could have done a Teams. We could, you know, we would have figured it out because that's what we had to do.
So things, even though the world has changed and how things are done, in some ways, it's that ingenuity has brought a better methodologies of being able to connect with people really where they're at, right?
Key, right
where
there.
they're at. So if they don't have a car and they can't drive to you and they can't afford a bus pass to take a bus to get to you, or they don't live on a bus line to take a bus to get to you, then at least, you know, they've got a phone call that they can make, or like you said, a Teams or something where you can see that face to face and have some connectivity.
Yeah, Teams has been wonderful. We will be honest, we probably don't use it as much as we could. But it's an option.
Yeah.
And when you think about 20-somethings, they would much rather do that from their home, or do that pulling over in their car at the side of a road or a rest stop or whatever, because they are in between something or another. So it is about meeting people where they're at, meeting their need, and us feeling comfortable with it.
Right.
Because like tax returns, we do free income tax preparation. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, but I'm sure. But I'm not going to do a virtual appointment for somebody I've never done their taxes for before, because they could say they're anybody.
Oh, good point.
Know?
Right. So there's an option.
There is, but after I have done your taxes once and I know who you are and I have that comfort level, we have options with taxes of doing them almost without even a conversation other than I need this paperwork, you send it back to me, we set you up with a portal through our TaxSlayer software, and from there, everything else is done online.
Wow. Isn't that something?
But that very first one has to be done face-to-face, because
Right.
we just don't, I need to know you're you.
So tell us about, we'll park taxes for a second. Tell us a little bit more about some of the other programs and things that NATCO offers for people.
Okay, so we work off of what we call the 4 steps to empowerment. Step number 1 is connection to resources. I think we've talked about that. It's about knowing what's out there, what they need and or want, and where we connect people with that. Step number 2 is job seeking assistance. We have computer bays. People can apply for jobs online. All of our computer bays now have cameras so they can do online interviewing and things like that. They just need to let us know ahead of time and really schedule with us ahead of time so we can kind of like shut down the center.
Oh, right, for background noise.
Well, and for
things like
confidentiality and things like that,
true,
you know.
right? Yeah.
I mean, our office is not huge and it is not tiny, but you still want people to feel confident in saying if they have to say something that is of that confidential nature. We have, we help with people with resume writing. We have interview appropriate attire that we take donations in that for free and we give that out for free. If you've ever seen our building, it is not housed there because our building is this much big and there's no room for clothes.
Right.
It is housed at Sylvan Nook Church.
Okay.
So we can meet someone out there or we can bring the clothes into our center for people to try on and
That's
and
wonderful.
that kind of, and men's and women's.
Yeah.
We call it the career closet.
Okay.
And then we can also do practice interviewing with people if they're really nervous about that.
Yeah.
And any person, a lot of people don't take you up on that, but any
They
person,
should.
they should.
They should.
Any person that has ever done that with me has gotten a job within 30 days.
That's wonderful.
Now, I'm going to take some of that credit, but I believe it has more to do with they're just determined to get that job
Right.
and they're not going to stop till they do. But by golly, when I'm writing a grant or whatever, we'll write that 100% down there, no problem.
Well, I think that, I mean, it's been a long time since I've interviewed for a job, but anytime you get back in that space, it is a very different situation to be in. And I think if nothing else, just to get a few kinks out or just, it's like riding the bicycle, but if you haven't ridden the bicycle in 10 years or 20 years or 6 months, it gets rusty. So it's a great thing to get to, you know, if someone gives you that opportunity to practice it.
Well, I had
It may seem weird, right?
I had a lady
But
that
yeah.
did this. She just wrung her hands the whole time. And she had no idea she was doing it.
Right.
And I said to her, I said, if you have to sit on them, just sit on them. I said, they're not going to know what you're doing.
Right.
You know, or keep them under the table and you can kind of.
Be doing that, but not like
She had
up
no
here.
idea. It was no.
It was just so subconscious to
Yeah,
her. It was
it
just
was,
a normal thing she does. Yeah, we all have those things.
Yeah,
right.
just your
But how
little
distracting if like you're interviewing somebody because the whole time you're like, what are they doing with their hands? And
Yes.
and maybe you're not listening to their answers, and that could be kind of a downfall for you, and you don't even know it, just because they aren't maybe hearing all of your great qualities. They're missing the good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And we sometimes do know too, as well. We know some places that are hiring, but not always. So that's something too.
Right.
Step number 4 is our money management counseling. Like I said, we're certified financial counselors. We help people with budgeting. We can do a credit report pull and review somebody's credit report for free, and it doesn't hurt your credit. It's called a soft pull.
Okay.
So it's really about looking at your credit report. Is it all yours? Because people have things that aren't there sometimes on their credit report that we need to dispute and those kinds of things, and we can help with that. And then we can also give them a plan to improve it or grow it, that kind of a thing. We help people with debt management. You know, I've had people come in with a lot of credit cards and a lot of credit card debt. So let's put a plan together to get some of that paid down and paid off. And if you want my key to all that, the key is to stop using the credit cards to begin with. But that's a lot easier to say than to do. It's a lot easier to say than to do.
Well, right, because I mean, if you need to buy your child Pampers or you need them to have food and the option is you have nothing or you put it on the little bit of credit you have on your card, then you're going to take care of your family and put it on the card.
Yep.
So,
well, and I think about things like, okay, if my tire blows.
Yeah, tires are expensive.
You know, and I have to have my car to get to work.
Right.
I can't, if I can't go to work, then I'm not going to get paid, then I'm not going to pay any of my bills.
Right. Or fix your tire.
Right. So we're gonna, that's, I know I would use it.
Right.
I have no doubt in my mind that that's when I would use it.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, though, I should take my own advice, but I tell people all the time, take your credit cards out of your wallet.
Yeah.
Then you have to really think about whether it is worth using it to go in. But in this day and age where Amazon remembers my credit card,
just about many of those things do. Yeah, that's interesting. So that presents a different challenge.
it really does.
So let's talk about the staff. You work there.
Yep.
What else do we have as far as staff or volunteers? How does that work?
We have 3 paid staff with the Empowerment Center. Heather Brower is in charge of our Connersville office, and I and Kaylin Markham work in our Richmond office.
Okay.
The 2 of us up here are full-time. Our Richmond office is open 5 days a week. Our Connersville office is only open 3 days a week. And then as far as volunteers go, volunteers are specific for need. Like we do poverty simulations.
Can you just keep talking to me? Don't read that.
The poverty simulations, we have to have up to 15, 20 volunteers. So we have volunteers that come in and do that for us. We can always take volunteers that might be willing and interested in helping with tax preparation. We have one steady volunteer for the last 2 years.
Oh, nice.
That has come in and does intakes for us. And she's not involved in the actual preparation of the tax returns. Not
Okay.
that she couldn't do it. She could do it fine, but she just doesn't want to.
Okay.
So there are volunteer opportunities.
Okay.
I would love to say that they are spot specific, but I bet I could find almost anything if somebody was willing to give us some time.
To give you some time.
We had a gal come in that needed some volunteer hours, and she helped rearrange cabinets for us and cleaned and that kind of thing. Those things that we never do, you know.
Where you don't ever have time.
You never think about
You don't
it.
ever have time for that
and
stuff.
she just came in and she's like, I love to organize. And I'm like, here,
Organize
please do.
away.
And she did great.
Good. That's neat. Yeah, I could use some of that organization. We just recently had to do some moving relocation, and boy, you're getting rid of a lot of stuff. But it's the only, it was forced, right? If that were not the reason, I would not have been going through things and clearing things out and unloading what is no longer needed and those kind of things. And so but it was because I was forced to. And so I think, if someone had volunteered to come in and clean that stuff out forever ago before, it would have been in great shape. But yeah, it takes time to do that, and it's few hands to do a lot of work. It's one of those back burner items. So how nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
So let's get into the taxes, right? You've talked about it. It is, you guys do a ton for the community, obviously, in all of what we've already talked about. But free tax preparation is a big deal. And so tell us about that and why it's such a big deal.
The Empowerment Center is a certified VITA site, and VITA stands for Voluntary Income Tax Assistance. And 2025 will be our 10th year of being a certified VITA site and our 5th year of receiving what's called a VITA grant to help us cover the cost of providing these taxes, and it's through the IRS. So all of our volunteers and our tax preparers are certified in one way, shape, or another through the IRS to prepare taxes. And the goal is to serve low income or the elderly. That doesn't mean that's all we serve, but that is the goal. I want to say our elderly, which I still don't think this is the right answer, was almost 40%.
Oh, wow.
Of our tax returns were 65 or older.
Wow.
I want to say like 38. And then it was 68% are considered low income, and low income is $65,000 or less, AGI, which is
Individual or family?
both.
Both. So it's 65,000 an individual or 65,000 as a
Yeah.
family. Does that have to be within a certain number, like a 4 or 6, or does it
Nope.
just, you can have 15 in your family?
Yep.
And it would, okay.
Yep. And like I said, it doesn't mean if you come in and you make $80,000 a year, we're not going to tell you no. And we are certified tax preparers. We are not considered tax experts. I don't have any outside education on taxes or anything like that. I could call myself a glorified number putter-inner because I know where the numbers go. But after almost 10 years, I also know more than I did.
Right.
First year we did taxes in 2016, we did less than 50.
Oh, wow.
This past year, we're looking at 1,900 plus.
My goodness.
67% of our taxes are Wayne County,
Okay.
25% Fayette County.
Okay.
I believe it's like 13% Ohio, 13% Union County, and then bits and pieces. We did a California return. We've done Illinois returns. I've done Florida
Really?
returns. We've done Kentucky returns. So it's all over. But yeah, and we do it by appointment. That's our preferred way. We do have drop-off options. But we prefer for somebody to come in. We do an intake with them, do their return, they sign, we send within an hour, and they're all done. They don't have to come back, that kind of thing. We have done it with a lot of drop-offs before, but all it seemed to do was make a big giant stack on my desk
Right.
that stressed you out. Whereas, but we do taxes, sometimes it's 6 days a week.
Wow. Wow.
I don't do it 6 days a week, just 5. But
Right.
we do, like we are
Collectively with your
trying,
team.
we are visibly and consciously trying to maximize our effort
Right.
to be able to meet the need for as many people as humanly possible. We have a lot of people that come in. There's one woman I can't not get her out of my head. That Social Security and a pension, and she owes the state of Indiana every year. And where she was going to get her taxes done, it was costing her almost $300. Plus, she had to turn around and pay the state of Indiana. So she can come to see us now. She doesn't have to pay us anything.
Right.
She still has to pay the state of Indiana, but it's saving her money.
Right.
And there are other options that are VITA options in our area. The AARP does it, I think, at the library now. I don't think they do it at the senior center anymore. And I believe that Ivy Tech still does it, but it is like at the library, it's 1 day a week.
Right.
We do it,
Yeah.
We'll start the end of January and we'll go until the 15th of April. We're excited, 10 years next year. And I was the one that said, I don't want to do people's taxes. And now I always look forward to it, so.
Wow, okay. That's funny because I definitely do not look forward to taxes. And always having to generally write the state of Indiana some kind of check. I'm like, oh.
Well, nobody likes that. I generally have to write the state of Indiana check too, but
Yeah.
last year I did not.
Lucky you.
They'll probably come after me now that I said that, but
I'm sure somebody's listening, right? It always seems that way. Okay, we digress. We have just a couple of minutes left in our time here today. What brings you the most joy about what you do?
I honestly think what brings me the most joy is seeing the results of the connections that I make in the community. I love working with the individuals and our clients that come in and seeing changes in their lives. Mm-hmm. But I think the most joy is this concept of seeing so many organizations coming together to build that change for our community. Mm-hmm. I have people that are my people that we're going to do this change together.
Right.
And I love that. That brings me so much joy.
Well, we're happy about that. The last question I have before we go is, what would happen to this community if we didn't have NATCO Empowerment Center?
Well, I think you would lose an important voice in understanding the reality of poverty, because our poverty simulations are very impactful, and we didn't even talk about those. You can have me back. We'll talk about those.
Yes, we will talk about those, because they are fascinating and they are highly eye-opening. I have participated in them. So.
But I think that voice would be gone, and I think, which I do think other organizations would step up, but I think there needs to be some sort of, we're able to step up for that would be needed, is that idea of who's going to help people on their journey.
Right.
Not my journey,
right.
Their journey.
Their journey.
That's one of the big things I think we do.
Right. Well, we're very grateful for the work that the NATCO Empowerment Center does, and that you guys are in the community and all the services that you provide for all of those who need it, and just to have that open door. So that connectivity to resources is such a huge piece. It's one of the biggest challenges for folks that are facing adversity and needing to access resources. Knowing where to go is almost 90% of the battle some of the time. And so when people can give you that and cut through it, it helps out. So thanks for everything you do.
And it's scary. You're very welcome.
It is scary, I think so. I don't think people realize how scary that is. So, but thank you for everything you shared with us today. Lots of thank yous. That'll take us to the end of this episode of The Third Sector. Stay well, and we'll see you next time.